Good morning. A lot of people actually ask me, what do you feed your birds? And look, I've got to admit, I am by no means an expert. I don't know everything. Biggest thing you can always say is that you've always got room to learn. There's always stuff to learn. There is a number of things you definitely should not feed your bird, but today I'm going to actually show you the things that we do feed our birds. Particularly at the moment, we're at the end of April and we're coming into the colder months, closing into winter, and a lot of our aviary birds are going to get ready to breed soon. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what we feed our pet birds, but also what we feed our aviary birds as they're going down to start getting ready to breed. They need to have the right things in their diet to help them with that. Okay, let's get started. So there's definitely some stuff that you shouldn't feed your bird, and I'm going to talk about that straight away because some of this stuff is really quite bad for them. Stop. Shell grit is bad for you, yes. You definitely don't want to feed them onion or garlic, tomatoes, mushrooms, avocado. Definitely no apple seeds. Like, they can eat apples, but make sure you take the seeds out because they actually contain little traces of arsenic, which is accumulative. Don't give them chocolate or coffee. I know sometimes people do that, and some birds develop a real taste for that. I guess in extremely small doses it's not going to kill them, but you shouldn't really let that happen. Another thing that's not recommended is, don't do the earring thing. Another thing that's not recommended is peanuts, because they sometimes have mold in them. So you've got to be really careful of the peanuts. It's not recommended that you let them have the peanuts, but just check with those. And also dairy, like, again, there hasn't really been incidences, but it's not really recommended. Okay, so before I even get started, I get myself set up. Okay, I've got my cutting board here. I've got my containers. We've got big birds as well as small birds. Oh, bye, Chesney. Okay, she's gonna go back to her perch. All good. So I get myself set up and ready before I even start. That makes things a lot easier. I make sure I have lids for my containers. That way, if anything, you know, if there's too much for the birds, I can put it in the fridge and can give them a little bit more in the afternoon. I don't like to keep this too long because it will spoil, and you definitely don't want to give your birds spoiled food either. So I have a little selection here. One of the things that is missing out of my selection at the moment is celery. Celery is really, really good for them. So, but I'm not going to stress too much with that because I'm actually feeding out some corn today, and everyone's getting a fair bit of corn because of course we're going into breeding season, and this actually helps them in their diet with reproducing. so here we have it for the big birds, for the little birds, and finally, as a bit of a treat for the big birds, I'm going to have a few almonds. I'm going to keep them in their shell because that gives them something to work on, makes it a bit interesting for them. Alright, let's feed them up. That's not all for you, Ivy. Excuse me. Excuse me. What do you think you're doing? Oh, that's naughty. We also keep a chili plant, and you can see at the moment there's lots of blossoms on that, and we have a couple of good chilies happening. Chilies are a natural wormer for your birds, and the birds love them. Believe it or not, they don't actually burn the birds' mouths. There you have it. So everyone's fed, everyone's seeds have been replaced, everyone has fresh water, so we're all good to go. If you have any questions at all, look, again, by no means, I am not an expert. I'm still learning as well. I'm sure I've probably got some things wrong, but a few people were just asking what we do. So that's our routine. If you have any other questions or queries, feel free to ask in the comments.